Hello there, Ben.
Hello, hello. How you doing?
Oh, doing good. Self?
What was that?
And you?
Yeah, doing all right.
All right.
Yeah, I was telling Jolander because I met up with him last week, I think. Or was it the week
Yeah.
before? Yeah, like so I was diagnosed with like Crohn's disease like
Oh, wow.
in January.
Yeah.
And so I'm taking like this new medication and like it it basically lowers your immune system. And like, dude, like it's been quite the journey figuring like
Yeah.
getting my body to respond right.
Wow. Yeah.
Um, but
Yeah.
yeah,
You've been absent so for some meetings, right? You haven't been really here all.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
it's been the primary reason. Just been super sick. Actually last no, was it last week or was it the week before? Either way, yeah, like I was just really, really sick. So
Mm.
yeah, but hopefully I think I got like so now I've talked with my nurse and I think we've gotten the right dosage. So it's not like totally killing my immune system, but we'll see.
Cool.
Um but yeah. So but yeah, how's things been on our end in just general for CD events?
Uh, yeah, things are, I guess, progressing, but quite slowly. I don't know, maybe the last time we met was when we had just released 0.4
Yes,
or when we
yes.
were about to release it. So I haven't heard much from anyone starting to try to use it. I mean, the SDKs are currently starting
Yep.
to be, or they are developed, right? Updated.
Yes,
Uh,
yes.
we got
Yes.
some message. Okay. It was a very short recording, it seems, of this meeting. So, Brett came in for a short while. Is he back? Yeah, he's back now. Good.
Cool, cool, cool.
Hi, Brett. Welcome back.
Hey, how's it going?
I saw you start
Hey.
the meeting, but yeah, now we're here, all of us. Yeah. So let's get to it. I don't think there will be much more participants now. I know that there is a bank holiday in UK and Ireland as well. So some of us in this group are off today. So I wouldn't expect too many more people to join. I can share the link to the minutes. Here we go. And I can also share my screen. Just a second. There we go. So let's see. Yeah, I already had myself there. Please add yourselves. Um, I don't have too much plan, but I hope that we can have some good conversations on some pull requests instead, since we have quite a few such in our list. But just some short items first. No action items really. This link here is mostly for reference. If there's anything new to say about the cooperation between OpenTelemetry and CDEvents, which is somewhat ongoing in the semantic conventions workgroup within OpenTelemetry, we can note it here, but I don't really know too much new, and I opened this issue recently and not so well. There is some discussions there going on, and it seems that well, this is held within the semantic conventions group in OpenTelemetry, and by that it means that they are mostly looking for finding a common way to express things, right? Not exactly how to interact between OpenTelemetry and CDEvents, nor how to, well, if we should say send CDEvents over OpenTelemetry or the hotel protocol or however we should do that. It's so far only about the semantics. So that's where we are right now. And maybe it's not too interesting from our perspective. I guess we will not have a one-to-one mapping anyway between our well, vocabulary there, but we would need to have some kind of translation or adapters, yes, if there are two different systems sending this information.
Yeah, I think one thing that might be nice as well, and I'm sure you guys have called this out, but just make sure like I'm on the same page. It's
Mhm.
that if there turns out that they choose a word like whether it's like, you know, a noun or a verb, specifically nouns, we probably want to make sure that it doesn't at least contradict like what our definition is, because that could be very confusing from people going from system to system or even just talking about it in general. So we just probably want to be careful in that regard. But other than that, yeah, like because I only attended one of their SIG meetings, but it sounds like, you know, they have a good idea, but of like the good practices, but like I just want to call that out.
No, I totally agree. So yeah, we should try to avoid confusion as much as possible. But one thing that was recently discussed there was this our way to express pipeline runs and task runs, for example, and they wanted to call them just pipelines and tasks, not pipeline run and task run. And I mean, that's more formality, I would say. I mean, we can easily translate that. So yeah, I don't think that we want to change maybe, but yeah, there is actually an issue in our spec repo about that Andrea wrote, and we discussed it briefly last time as well. So yeah, I guess we move on there. So now I see we have a new person joining the meeting. Bonnie Japp, do you want to introduce yourself, or you're very welcome here?
Hi, yeah, my name is Bonnie. From Yahoo actually. We are one of our projects actually is part of CDF. Is called Screwdriver. So give me a second. Let me open up my camera and introduce myself. So yeah, I joined like the CDCon probably like a month ago, and met some of the folks and got to know about the CDEvents. In particular, we are interested to explore more to see whether like our projects can emit some standardization. But in particular, we are more interested into like gearing towards observability and metrics for our continuous delivery events, basically, and see if there is any leverage in terms of open telemetry standardizations as well. So that's why I decided like to start joining this meeting to see what I can gather from this community and to see how where's my starting point, basically, if I'm interested to either adopt the standardization into our project Screwdriver, or basically just want to explore a little bit more on how the CDEvents can help in terms of observability and metrics, because that's what we are looking to improving in our ecosystem. We don't really have a good standardization in terms of collecting metrics and observability for our CD tools. Not to mention that there will be more, like a mix of CD offerings now in our company as well, not just one tool, but maybe a couple of other tool plus commercialized vendors as well. So that's why I'm interested to like kind of see how we can standardize that so that we can gather some metrics and observability. I was hoping that Andrea is here. Maybe can
you met with Andrea then in Silicon, I guess. Yeah, because he said he talked to someone in Screwdriver, and I guess that was you then.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah.
No, but I said in the beginning there that they have a bank holiday today in UK and in Northern Ireland or in Ireland, so that's why Andrea is not here. So he's off, unfortunately. But I guess he will come next time. He's normally here. You're very welcome. Maybe we should have a short round of introductions ourselves as well for you then. So my name is Emil Bäckmark. I'm in Sweden, and I've been part of this group since it was launched, really. I was part of the initiator of the idea behind this. We have used a similar thing that compared to CDEvents for several years already within Ericsson, where I work. So we think this is a good thing to try to spread these ideas and gather more people interested in this and make an even better solution together that we can all leverage from. So that's why I'm here. So Ben?
Cool. Yeah. So I'm I'm Ben. I'm part of Apple. So when was I part of CDEvents? So I've been part of it in its pretty early days as well. Not as early as Emil, but at least a couple of years now, I think. So yeah, so we are trying to basically get it into tooling. That's like our primary goal for Apple, or for at least for me, is like get it in tooling, using it, and like developing the systems. So that's gonna be my kind of my long-term goal, as well as try to do as quickly as possible, right? So yeah, that's kind of like the gist of me. I'm on the Spinnaker team at Apple, so we handle like continuous delivery. So that's why this is such an important concept for us. So yeah, so that's me. Brett.
Yeah.
I'm a big advocate of event-driven CI/CD. And I've been with the CDEvents crowd for pretty much, I don't know, the last 6 months, 7 months. I know Emil and I know Andrea from the CD Foundation, and always enjoyed working with those guys. We aren't SAS in particular isn't actually going to implement CDEvents, but I've got an open source project that is leans towards using CDEvents. It doesn't have to, but it very much can. And so we're working on some workshops around that as well. That's pretty much it.
Cool. So I don't find Bonnie, I'll add you as you attend here as well. It was Yahoo, right? Yeah, cool. Perfect. So welcome. We move on then. We were at this open telemetry discussion, and I guess we emptied that subject, so we can continue. Just some notes about coming summits or conferences that I wanted to just shout out about. So there is a EU open source summit where we have a CD Continuous Delivery Foundation mini summit together with it. And the CFP for that is now open. So if you are in Europe or intend to go to Europe, you can submit a talk to the CFP there. Then there are a few other upcoming conferences. For example, there is one in Seattle soon, Cloud Native Security Con. And I think, yeah, that schedule is launched, and I just looked at it briefly, and I didn't find anything really connected to what we do here. But we have been talking quite a lot about how to propagate secure supply chain information through events. So I think it's anyway interesting to be part of that community as well. So if you're interested and if you're able to, please go there. And then we have, of course, the KubeCon, the big KubeCon conference coming up in November, and the CFP for that is already open. That's normally very early, and the CFP closes already on June 9th. So if you want to provide some presentation or talk there, it's time to start thinking about that now. Any other conferences we should mention that you know of that could be interesting from our perspective in CDEvents?
KubeCon US call for papers is open.
Yeah, this is what I wondered.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Just wanted to make sure we knew that the call for papers was open.
Yeah. It is. So yeah. Okay. So then I just added a general topic about pull requests and issues, and I see it, you have now added already a few things below here. So let's start with the ones that you have added, whoever added them.
Oh yeah. Those were all me. So yeah, I just wanted, so I just created these three. So basically, at a long meeting last week with Jalander about the SDKs as well as the adapter that's been ongoing. So I mentioned some solutions that Jalander should consider for the adapter. You know, like a kind of a like more of an idiomatic and more maintainable way of running the adapter. So that's kind of like the goal, because you know, we don't, especially since this is going to be a plugin based system, we don't want to have to maintain like 50 million different plugins. So I kind of came up with a good way of being able to make that more easily maintainable. But one of the things that kind of came out of that meeting, like kind of unrelated, is that we were looking at some of the link schemas, and Jalander was trying to generate from them, and it looked like some of them weren't in the right format. Like basically, when fields need to be under properties, but they were at the very top level in the link schema. So I just need to go back into to those link schemas and throw all the properties in the properties field. So that's, I just wanted to call that out, just to let you all know that PR is going to be coming later today. So that's kind of
sorry, then is there an issue for that issue?
No. I was gonna create that yeah, basically after this meeting. Yeah, because like I said, there's been a few things that I need to do. And then also I think it was last week, I started tagging a bunch of what I consider to probably be breaking changes. I don't know if I have the full context of everything, so we might need, you know, some people that, you know, actually created the issue to kind of like weigh in on, you know, if I'm misunderstanding what the proposal is or what they're thinking about, to see if like that is labeled correctly. And then what I primarily wanted to do though is kind of go over I created a project which I called the Breaking Change project, but I just made it private to me for now because I didn't know how useful it would be. But basically all it does is just group all the labels and, you know, and whether they're being worked on, and you know, so it's kind of like a simple sprint board, but it's no different than like the milestone board. So I was like, I don't know how useful this is. So it's kind of like another thing I've been playing around with. And then one also call out, like after working with Jalander for a little bit, is that I explained to him that implementing links is not as simple as just generating the schema. And unfortunately, like context proposal and links by context, propagation of links isn't automatically generated, right? So so I told him, you know, so I have what all needs to be done. I just need to get it into GitHub issues. So I plan on doing that a little bit later today. I just want to kind of like go over like what I'm doing or what I'm planning on doing. So it's kind of like number one. So I believe the SDKs, it'll be a little bit before links is going to be fully, I should say fully, is going to be at least in a usable state. Just mostly because, you know, the biggest thing is that you'll be able to send links with the SDKs relatively quickly, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it'll be able to propagate them the correct way, as in like when a new link comes in, or like when I guess like you know, well, I guess I don't know. I'll have to think about it a little bit, but yeah. So basically, there's a little bit of work that needs to be done on the SDKs. So I plan on running an issue for that, and then kind of encapsulating all that information. And then another thing that I wanted to call out is whether or not we should have, because 0.5 is going to be like our breaking changes version, right? So I'm wondering if we should have like a document or at least a GitHub issue that kind of like describes like what all of our necessary ideas are for, because right now they're all just kind of like separate issues, but like you know, which are kind of like tagged. But like I like having things in a single document, especially for something as big as this, like breaking changes, that kind of like explain what we're what we're considering. Like you had mentioned, Emil, like just earlier today, like pipeline run versus pipeline. Is that something we should be considering? I know you said that Andrea created an issue for it. So, you know, maybe that's something that could go into this bigger proposal is like, should we consider like renaming, like basically just kind of like the ideas, like, should we consider renaming subjects? Should we consider this versus this versus this, you know, like all the considerations. So, so it's kind of like something I'm thinking about. I don't know if it's needed, but you know, like I said, it's just better. That's like typically how I like to organize my thoughts. So yeah.
Yeah, I think it's quite easy to create issues in GitHub, right? So
yes.
why not just keep them as separate issues, but label them, and then we can of course have we can have a simple view where we see all issues with that label.
Yeah. I think that's fair. I'm used to using like ticketing systems where there's like an epic and then things are grouped under the epic, and the epic like describes like everything it's trying to do. So, but yeah, so like I said, even though that's like typically like the systems I'm used to, I'm completely fine, you know, not needing to follow that. But I at least wanted to bring it up to see if people were you know, thinking like, oh, you know, that actually might be useful. But if it's not useful, then yeah, we don't have to do it.
No, I agree. It could be useful, but I'm just concerned if we would at all keep it updated, or if
yes, agreed.
To sync with the actual issues and what is done. So maybe it's easier to have it just in one place. I don't know, for simplicity. But I agree, for the overview part, it would maybe make sense to have it. Sure. I'm not sure if we will make it in a good way.
Gotcha. Okay, yeah, then that's completely fair then. And then there was something else. If I think about it, I'll chime in. But there was something else that I needed to do with Jolander. But yeah, this kind of covers, I guess, the bigger items though that I was like most concerned about with getting done. And then I think I had an open PR too that fixed something else with links. Oh, the consistency with camel casing and linting. I haven't had a chance to look at that. So I'll take a look to see if there's been any movement. But last time I looked, which I think was like a week ago, I didn't think any looked like there wasn't any movement just yet on it.
Yeah, right. These are the current pull requests that are open
yes.
in the spec repo, and I think this is the one you talk about, right?
Yep.
You created. So I'm not sure if I have no, I haven't reviewed it either. So I intended to. Yes.
Yeah. It's pretty straightforward and simple. So hopefully it's not like, you know, something massive. But the goal, the goal is once this is merged, I should be able to then rebase the linting PR, and that should pass. And then we should be able to then merge in that linting PR. But that brings up another topic is maybe we need a linter for the schemas as well, right? Like, because like it sounds like the linked schemas weren't technically, well, they weren't correct, right? So they were missing the properties field. So I think we need to have some sort of linters for JSON schema. I don't want to go like too crazy with the linting, but at least, you know, just check what the required fields are, right? Which in this case is like properties and whatnot.
Yeah. And I know that we have something similar in Eiffel, actually. In the Eiffel protocol, we have a check for where we check towards the JSON schema meta version, so to say, that is used in each schema, and see that the schemas we create are conformant with that.
Oh, perfect. Yes,
so maybe we could copy something from there. I'll take a look at that actually.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
What did you do for this pull request? You added something.
So I added quite a bit of things here. So
a proper linter. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, like a proper like JSON like C linter. So like this, it's very configurable. So I just added what I thought was useful. So I added basically just comma dangling. So like if you add a end comma, you know, where it's not, you know, where, you know, technically you know, the parser would complain about it, this would catch that. just indenting just to make sure that we are consistent with our indentation. I noticed some things were 4 spaces. I know some things were 2 spaces. I know some things were actual tabs. So this just says, hey, all the schemas, all the examples need to be the same spacing style.
No, this is good thing. So that's a different thing from what I talked about.
Yes,
what
yes, yes.
Is for the
spec
event
itself, the
schemas and
schema.
stuff.
Yeah. That's why I meant, like, I want to add that in there, but if there's already something that has that, awesome. I would love to get that in there.
Take an example. I mean, in this example, I mean, in all our schemas, we currently use the spec for 2020-12, right? So this draft of the JSON schema. So you could write a check that
perfect
what we write in our schema below here conforms to what is needed
exactly.
by the schema. That's what.
That's exactly what we need.
Some input to that then.
Okay, awesome. So were you planning on creating a separate PR for the linter? Because that's fine as well. Or were you just going to create an issue?
Maybe it should be separate from this then, because this is something else. So yeah, I would say something else. Another.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, makes sense.
All right.
No, but that's great. Okay, perfect. What else was there? Snake case, JSON linting, URL and URL. Where's URI? Okay, this one, yeah. It should be URI instead.
Yes.
Probably so.
Yeah, and then this one I need to up or add an update as well, mostly because this turned out to be a bigger rabbit hole than I originally had worked or intending it to be. So basically I was like, oh, outcome was missing from build finish, but then it turned out like outcome was also missing, or the consistency between outcome predicates between the various subjects also were different. So I'm just like, there needs to be some conformance here. So but I didn't want to, because I was in the middle of the links proposal, but now that that's done, minus all the cleanup that still needs to happen here, the fixes, I can revisit this. So I will go ahead and relook at that PR.
Is there a issue about the outcome issues, let's say, or is it?
I believe there was, or was it just a PR? I think there was.
This is one thing around that, I guess, that maybe could be addressed at the same time.
Yeah. Okay, maybe there wasn't an issue. Okay, so if there's no issue, I'll definitely add one. Okay, cool. Yeah, so.
And then the last one, this is old, I guess, from August last year. Just
yep.
You, Jason. Your level with your that's the same, I guess. Yeah, it's the same as this, more or less, but yeah. Good.
Yeah.
So I'll see if I can find some time to review this, and also provide a pull request for the one I mentioned there about verifying towards the JSON meta schema.
Perfect. That'd be awesome. Yeah, and thank you for already having that done. You don't know how much I am so happy to hear that there's already a solution. It's already been implemented somewhere, because I was like, oh man, I have to build something, another thing. God. But yeah, it's always good to hear that there's always a pre-existing solution.
So just very quickly, writing something, I can assign it to myself. So I have it. Yeah. And we can also say 4.0 to 5. So that should be done, I think. It's good, because with this, I believe that we would have caught this properties issue.
Yes, we would have.
I think so. Good. Anything else on pull requests from anyone in the meeting?
I think that was pretty much the gist of it, at least from my end.
Yeah. And about any issues, now we have marked some of these issues as 0 to 5.
Yep.
And some are also labeled with breaking change. Many of them that are signed with or labeled 0.5 might not make it. We'll see. But let's keep them there for now. This conformance maybe should be there as well, since that's actually about conformance, right? Which might be breaking changes. Or Oh, okay, that to be conform. Okay, that was something else. I was confused. No, that's not really the thing we talk about now.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are so many issues. I guess we shouldn't just go through all of them.
Yeah. But one thing that might be nice though is to maybe start outlining like what I guess like for these meetings, like the status of like 0.5, just kind of like talk about it more. And what I mean by that, so last time with 0.4, right? I think we didn't really start talking about 0.4 until like the last like month, or was it the last like few weeks? So I think it would be nice to at least always have like maybe just a small update, maybe like some sort of status on it. Just to, I guess my intention here with this idea is ensure that we don't ensure that we are able to release versions as like in a moderate time frame. So I think that's kind of like the intention. So at least having like some sort of small call out or a small update about 0.5 every meeting, like at the very beginning, I think would be really, really useful, at least for me.
I think that's the reason for having this link to the roadmap for the coming release here. So I didn't open it now, but we have this GitHub project here called CDEvents releases, where we have for each milestone for each release. This is unfortunately not tightly connected to the milestone setting on, well, it says milestone 05 here, but it requires, I guess, that you do some other, you create the same milestone in each of the projects that are involved as well. So this is about the core spec, but then there are others that are more from the this is also spec, but this, for example, is a community issue which happens to come up in this release as well, or in this view. So this is a different way of looking at things together, not just for the spec, but for the whole milestone. But I agree, it would be good if we could have this up to date and talk through this board instead of looking at the full list of issues and pull requests, maybe.
Yes.
Doesn't make sense, I guess, all the time. And then there might be things here that will not make it, but that's things we can talk about then, of course, when we look at this. So yeah, I agree. This is another way to do it. We have a long-standing issue, for example, here, defining the requirements for version 1.0, which we seem to never come to really. But there is an issue, at least for it. So there is a placeholder for it that we can all help filling out, or it's very empty now. But we should put in requirements here, I guess, in this issue. What needs to be done before we can say that we can release CDEvents 1.0. Obviously, that's good when we talk about CDEvents to others, saying that, well, we are not a 1.0 yet, but this is what is lacking, and this is when we intend to do it, or whatever. But currently, we don't have a time plan at all for this, unfortunately. So
yeah, I think
we are anyway.
I think we actually should probably do this sooner rather than later, is define the requirements. And the reason why I say that now is because if we do it sooner, or if we do it later, I feel like 1.0 will be a constantly moving target. Like we'll be like, oh, we'll need this. Oh, we'll need this. Oh, we'll need this. So if we had a predefined set of like the bare minimum of what 1.0 is required, I think that's an easier goal to walk towards versus just having it, be kind of this ephemeral thing. So yeah, I didn't even know about this issue, but good to know. So yeah, I'll start thinking about what could be added there as well.
Yeah, I can add one thing that I just know is important for us, which is so the governance needs to be in place. We have talked about that we should start elections on setting a governance board for CDEvents, but we haven't come to that yet. So that's obviously not a spec technical thing to do, but it's something that we need to do to make sure that we have governance in place. And I wouldn't be confident releasing 1.0 if we don't have a board of people that are elected to maintain the project and the spec. So that's just one thing that we need to have there, I would say. But please, you can fill in either through a comment on this, or if you want to add directly to the description, that's fine as well. Yeah. Any other business you want to bring up today?
Nothing from me.
Kind of
Yeah.
interested in that OTAL and CDEvents. What are you guys doing in that space basically?
And maybe we talked about that before you joined. Sorry. So yeah. So some time ago, I believe it was it last summer? We initiated a discussion with OpenTelemetry people, and I think at that time some kind of chat group was formed where we started talking about the CI/CD conventions or CI/CD related issues around with OpenTelemetry and also CDEvents. And we have had some chats with them, and since a few months back, there's now a standing topic on their semantic conventions workgroup meeting, which is every Monday, unfortunately on the same time slot as this meeting. So they probably meet right now. They discuss this a bit, but in the beginning, that's their complete semantic convention workgroups meeting. So it's not just about this CI/CD properties or CI/CD conventions. So I assume that when this is a bit more mature and they start to get into some more details on the actual proposals on this, I would assume that there would be a separate call, a separate meeting detailing that and setting a baseline for their needs there. But as I mentioned, I guess it's so far only about the semantics. It's not about interactions between an event-driven world and a OTel world, so to say, which I would more expect. I mean, that's from my perspective more interesting to see. Should we in our CDEvents spec include some reference to an OpenTelemetry span or something, or should they, for example, in OpenTelemetry in the OpenTelemetry spec add some property that could refer to a CDEvent? So either way, and those discussions haven't really started anywhere yet with the OpenTelemetry people at least. So that's what I'm expecting later on.
Has any of you guys in your maybe in your current implementation in your company utilize CDEvents for driving metrics like build time, number of failure rates and all those, and I mean we have that metrics right now. There's no standard way. We of course for example our project emits some kind of metadata, and with that we are able to pull kind of metrics. But if we have, for example, we also start leveraging GitHub Actions, they emit certain kind of metrics that are different from us, from Screwdriver is emitting. So we are kind of thinking to a space where we can kind of leverage the same standards, and I thought CDEvents would help in this case. like if both tools are kind of like emitting a standard way, then we can have like a single maybe consumer that is consume that events and then propagate it over to like a observability system and let it absorb there.
Yeah, so I wanted to touch a little bit on what you just talked about, because this is a wide problem that we're actively solving right now, is the different spaces emitting, you know, their own APIs, right? So the problem with that is, you know, like the whole point of CDEvents is to have a consistent API schema, or, you know, view into what it's doing, right? So me and Jalander have been, it's very, very early, but we have this service that is going to sit kind of like as like, you think of it as like an adapter. So it takes any sort of incoming request and changes it to a CD event. So right now we're working on Garrett, which is a source control management system. I think it was by Google. And so, you know, they emit their own events, but we're also looking at implementing like GitHub, but it's a plugin based system. So that means that you guys, if you guys have a custom tool, a custom system, custom service, you can write just a plugin and it should be able to convert it very easily between one or the other thing using like annotation. So that's the big thing that that we're trying to get right now. So so that doesn't necessarily mean that the service themselves are going to be emitting CD events directly, at least right now. So we felt that this tool, this webhook adapter, will be a good intermediary step to kind of get there to, you know, once, you know, GitHub, Garrett, or whatnot wants to support CD events, they'll be able to. But if there is another tool that comes out that, you know, doesn't have CD events, this tool will be able to handle that as well. So it kind of like serves just as a good stopgap for things that don't have CD events currently, but allows you to convert them as needed. So I believe that's what you were talking about. Does that sound useful to you, or was that something completely different?
Kind of along that line, but also say, okay, there's an adapter that is kind of consume you know, like AP kind of consume like events, I guess, from other systems that are not complying to CD events, but convert it into like a CD events.
Yes, that's what this is.
Yeah, universally, right? So assuming like maybe GitHub, they emit like what kind of events according to their according to their standard, but then this adapter can kind of convert it into a CD events standardization. And then I think my question is that like, okay, say something is already emitting CD events, right? For example, I don't know, like Tecton is emitting CD events, I believe.
Yes.
And then there must be a consumer, you know, somewhere else that is consuming the CD events for another purpose, right? So can we, like, is this consumer something that is already like standardized? Do you guys have like a universal consumer that can consume the CD events, and then I can plug it to somewhere else?
Oh, the actual like well, it sounds like you're talking about a few different things here. So in terms of implementation, that's what I kind of mentioned earlier when I gave my introduction, is like my goal is to actually take the abstract things that we are writing and convert it to like actual tooling. Like that's my goal. So I've been working really hard internally at Apple to kind of like try to see what is required to kind of like make that happen. And we're making strides. And you know, it's just we're mostly waiting for legal before we can contribute anything code wise. But once we get the okay from legal, you'll start seeing not this universal consumer, but more along the lines of like maybe an event bus, like system, or like a link service, whatever it might be. It might just be like a Docker image or several Docker images that maybe we can publish under like CDEvents or something that people can consume. If you're talking about a universal consumer for metrics, I believe there is. I think Andrea would be probably the best person to talk to about this, because I don't know if that was ever implemented. Maybe Emil, like, was that like, I know we every time we give a CDEvents talk, we always talk about Dora metric. Did we actually do any work in that space, or was that just more of like an end goal for like 1.0, for example?
Yeah, there is a POC, I guess, on Dora-Metrics. Let's see if I can quickly find where is it then.
Yeah, so I'm trying to like kind of buy in from the management as well. Like if we want to start a project where Screwdriver emit CDEvents standard kind of events, it has to be useful for what they want to see. Because right now we are interested into like things like Dora metrics, observability, anything in anything in the observability space. I think that interests them. So basically, I'm trying to
So the best sell, because this is the last 2 years, that's what me and my manager have been doing at Apple. So they're very like, originally everyone was like, why would you do that? But now everyone's on board. So we've done a pretty good job at selling selling CDEvents. So the basic thing here for CDEvents. So I told you that we implemented, or I implemented the links proposal. And what links proposal does is that it links all the CDEvents together. So we also have another concept called like the ticket events. So generally here at Apple, like we'll create a feature, in a ticket system. We'll say, hey, we need this feature, right? So we'll have a feature, we'll have a sprint date, a sprint plan. With CDEvents, we can track from when the ticket was created to when it was deployed and get that full graph of what that looks like visually as well, to give back to like upper management, for example. And then we can see when that change was deployed. We can see all the bug fixes that happened for that particular change, all within a graph, showing, things looping back, saying, oh, another PR was needed to fix a bug, and so on and so forth. So you get a great visual representation of how what that life of that ticket was from start to finish.
Yeah, I think that along that line, they will buy in. I think along everything, like anything that is of their interest right now, then they will allow us to do kind of some initiative to pursue and make that happen. Interoperability wise, I'm not sure if they care about it right now. So I'm just trying to see where I can sneak in and then start promoting.
Right.
Otherwise, it's hard to get buy-in. So that's why I'm like really interested on how to see how you guys have been, implementing it in your space. I don't know what's the best way. I'm interested to kind of more to see about like the overall architecture, actually, if that's not something confidential. I don't know. I think
unfortunately from our end, we can't release anything architecture wise or code wise yet. I imagine in a couple months we will, but like I said, like we've been trying to be able to submit code for about 2 years now. So that's how long our legal process is. It's stupid. So yeah, unfortunately, that is the blocker for us. And right now, CDEvents is very abstract. It's very abstract. Well, I shouldn't say that. It's very abstract CDEvents is very abstract. However, Emil, like I don't know if you remember, he had mentioned before, he talked about starting CD or proposing CDEvents, as well as relying on a very similar system. They have a event system and architecture already. So maybe that's something, that Emil can maybe dive into rather than me. Cause like I said, I'm kind of like, my tongue is tied. And then I kind of go from there. So yeah. So please, Emil, if you have any.
Yeah. So, I mean, we use events extensively within Ericsson at the moment, and have done for many years. But the version we use of these events are not, unfortunately, open source. We have this Eiffel event protocol open source as well, which is a version of the Eiffel event system that we don't use too much internally. But then we have these new CDEvents as well. There is this new CDEvents that we are part of working on. But for the current event system that we use in Ericsson mostly, we do have various systems that collect these events and calculate metrics on them, calculate build times, and calculate time from source change being merged into, well, maybe not deployment, but until we at least have built something or gained a certain maturity or confidence on the binaries that we build. So we have those kinds of metrics calculated internally with our legacy event system then. Yes, so we certainly make use of that data from that events include. So it's valuable. I would hope that we can then sooner rather than later also get some best practices on top of CDEvents for the same thing, so we can leverage, for example, DORA metrics. I pasted in the chat there. There was a presentation a year ago on CDCon 2023 by Andrea and Eric from DoWile, who was at that time talking about DORA metrics with CDEvents. So there, I guess, not too much has happened since then, I'm afraid, in CDEvents itself. But the ideas on how CDEvents could be used to propagate DORA metrics, for example, is there. And I think it has been mentioned, as Ben said, in other presentations later as well. So yeah, I guess that's
I guess a question that I have to kind of like a follow-up question is, the reason for asking about the architecture is so that you can demo something to upper management. Is that kind of like why you're asking about it? Like, I'm just trying to because it sounds like there's two things you're asking for. One is like how to sell this to upper management, and then the other one is like, what is the implementation? And is that more to cater to number one, or is this kind of just more of a curiosity?
More like when I prepare something, I like to see how it's working end to end, and I think that's better in terms of selling it to the upper management. I mean, I can probably tell them like, oh, I think I've seen some presentations regard that this will help in terms of DORA metrics and observability in general, but how does it pay into the whole ecosystem? That might be a later question that they will ask me to present. So I like to see some kind of I like to see like an end-to-end process flow, and like I read in the documentation that there will be like a producer, and then there will be consumer. Yes. And then I saw that there's a Golang SDK, Python SDK, where all these components are like sitting in terms of like the whole architecture.
Yes.
That's what I want to know. And yeah.
Yeah. So in terms, so I completely understand, understanding the tooling 100%. But I think it's good to understand also that we're not even 1.0. So, we're not going to have a lot of, like, we're still in the very theoretical, the very abstract stage.
I see.
But another thing too, that's kind of helped us at Apple is that we have all these build systems. We have all these, like, not just Spinnaker, not just like Jenkins, like we have, custom ones. We have, so like we have everyone that implements kind of like their own thing. There's not this single source of truth that does things one way. So what we've done is we've taken, okay, since we don't have the tools, which we're building now, if we don't have the tools when we started this whole thought experiment, since we don't have the tools, what can we do to show that this concept works? So what we did is we took the raw payloads that were coming in from these build systems, for example, and from like GitHub, converting that to CDEvents, and then converting then the deployment systems to CDEvents and seeing how they would interact together. So that's what we did. And that was enough for us to buy into CDEvents, because while I do understand seeing it concretely working and whatnot, that, you know, at the current state, we're just not there yet. So this is probably the best thing you can do, is taking your build events, taking your payloads, converting them to CDEvents, and just assuming that there is some sort of event bus, some sort of producer, some sort of consumer. And let's, let's say you have this producer, let's say it's your, let's say it's GitHub, for example, and let's say your consumer is your build system, you know, just mapping those payloads to CDEvents, I think will draw a good idea on how this would potentially work for you guys. And then, like I said, more of the implementation talks are definitely happening internally at Apple. And then there is also another SIG. I think it's the interoperability SIG. They're very interested in actual implementation. So they spend a lot of time talking about I've never been to one of their SIGs, but what I get from it is that they talk more about the tooling as well, and what the architecture will ultimately look like. So that's another SIG that you might want to look at, and then potentially stop or take a drop in and maybe ask some of the questions there. So they might have a good answer too. But like I said, I think, that simple thought experiment of, just taking those raw payloads should be sufficient. I don't know if that will, at least it was sufficient enough for me where it made me confident enough to use CDEvents. Obviously, there were some things that, I thought were going to be a problem, but that's why, I'm part of CDEvents. I identified those problems, and I tried to voice that back to the CDEvents team, the maintainers, to see if we can fill those gaps, right? And I felt like we've done a pretty good job to at least satisfy, the issues that I identified. So yeah.
Okay. Sounds good. Yeah, maybe I'll read up more on the docs and then play around a little bit, and then in any case, if I have problems, I'll probably reach out to Andrea. And
you can also reach out to me.
Use the Slack channel as well. I mean, the common
yeah, that's what I was just gonna say. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Because like I said, like all of us have already thought about, a lot of the questions that you're already asking. And then, like Emil had said, like they have already implemented a variation of an earlier version of CDEvents in their system. So any questions that you have, it's probably, there is some answer that's already there. It's just a matter of like knowing what questions that you have, or if you have a payload and you're like, I don't see how this maps to CDEvents, that's definitely something that I can help with. So definitely, if you're not part of the Slack channel, that's a good place to at least start. And then of course you can also just ping us directly in Slack too. That's fine for me. But I think having it like we have, I think we don't have a Slack organization, right? Like it's part of like the CDF, like Slack. Yeah. And I think it's part of like, we have a separate channel. So,
right.
Yeah. So just jump in there and yeah, any questions we'll gladly answer.
Okay. Yeah. I saw you guys there. Okay. The
Cool,
CDEvents public channel. Yeah.
Exactly.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Thank you guys. Yeah. I'll reach out if I need anything, but thank you so much for your time. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, thanks for joining.
Yeah.
For being here, and talk to you next time.
Okay. Thank you, Emil. I'm Ben. Okay. See ya. Bye.
Bye.
I guess that's it, Emil. All right. I'll talk to you. I'll see you next week.
Time's up.
Have a good one.
Thank you, Ben.
Bye. And from you too.
Bye.